Hi, this is János Real World Audio, and I'm continuing with answering questions on the Altec 288 compression driver. And Carson Cab 51 asked a question, and he also gave an idea that what you can try to play around with the compression driver is to make a tapered tube out of paper and just put it in front of the compression driver. Let's focus it there. Yeah. So basically make a tube and put it in front. And then you can alter its geometry from conical to tapered and just play around and observe how it sounds. It's a fun experiment, and I think everyone should try it out. And it's not something as a so anyway, it's try it. I recommend that to everyone, just to observe the effect, what's happening, and how does it sound. You can also experiment with how long that tube is and how wide the taper is, and it's a really nice learning tool to observe for yourself what is happening. And also he pointed out that you can play around with the tilt, so so when you have the driver, and let's pretend now that this tube, this is the driver, so not only like rotate it around, but tilt it up or down, and also you can move it back and front. So this changes the time alignment, so you can get it to time aligned with the woofer, and by rotating around, tilting around, moving around, also like placing it left or right, you can find the optimal place in your room for your listening position. Or also you can optimize it either for just one spot in the room, or whether you want it to be optimal for a wide range of listening positions. So when you have it perfectly on axis, so like let's imagine that this is our speaker cabinet. If it's really like 90 degrees straight, that's when it will be optimized for the widest number of listening positions. And when you tow it in, then you will be skewing it for just the sweet spot and no one else. So when it's skewed in, then the sweet spot will be much more hotter, much more focused, much more energized. But if you are not in the sweet spot, you will lose a lot. And when it's like completely straight, then you will be fine everywhere, but at the sweet spot it will not be so intense. However, don't be afraid, because this driver, when you just point it to yourself, is unbelievably intense. So the intensity you get from dome theaters is nothing compared to what this compression driver produces. And the number one reason why I don't like it playing towards myself, even though it's spectacular, is because in case you have a recording that has outrageously high levels of high frequencies on it, and you already play that song loud, or that LP loud, or that CD loud, or stream that thing loud, you will damage your ears. And that's what happened to me. That I had an old Decca LP when I was listening to them in that configuration, so it's pointing at me, and I pointed it so that it was towed in and directly beaming at me, and it creates an absolute crazy, wonderful holographic virtual reality sensation on steroids. And then I put on that Decca record and I played it from back to back because it was so spectacular. But you know, with those old Decca records, the cutter heads just went up to 17 kilohertz, and on some of them there is just an extreme 70 kilohertz ringing. So when there were high frequencies, then instead of that 17 plus kilohertz, then the cutter head just went into an uncontrolled ringing at 17 kilohertz. And usually it's not so bad. It is noticeable, but it's all right. But on that recording, it was absolutely extreme, and for weeks after that, my ears were hurting. So actually, now I can say that my number one reason for warning against using the compression drivers this way, without a horn, is and then just towing it into yourself, is that you just have to be extremely cautious and be extremely aware that when the music has like plus 30 dB in those ultra high frequencies, then this is going to give it all to you. And normal systems, when you have a dome tweeter, it cannot go that plus 30 dB. They don't have that type of headroom. They will compress way before that, and it will be appearing way nastier. So you can, because of that extreme compression that's happening at the high frequency, so you will immediately notice that something is very wrong because it's distorting AF. But these compression drivers, they will play loud and clear, and like at 17 kilohertz, if it's like 130 dB, it won't even break a sweat. So that's why it's very crucial that if there's the energy, it will transmit it, and especially at that high frequencies, our hearing is not so keen, not so acute, and then you will be wondering that what on earth has just happened and why do I need to see a doctor. So the second part of the question is about diaphragms. So how do the cheap aftermarket diaphragms perform in the 288? Mine need new frags. So I have not tried new ones in mine. I'm still using the old ones that they had, and what I heard from my friend in Australia, who has the JBL equivalent of this compression driver, and which is actually the same thing. James Lansing designed all of them, and after he left Altec, he made his company JBL, but he's the father of all. So basically, Altec and JBL are both James B. Lansing. That's his brainchild, and it's the same driver, and even the diaphragms are compatible between the JBL large format compression driver and the Altec 288. And what this friend of mine said, that the new ones have more and shift the energy from the mid-range to high frequencies. So it's going to give you a lot more high frequency energy, and it's going to give you a much more unassuming mid-range. So if you love how the mid-range is right now with the old diaphragms, you are going to lose it. And if you don't worry about the mid-range and you think, okay, I could use more top end, then I recommend the new diaphragms. And just thinking about whether you need new ones or not, in this unit that I have right there on the photo, the diaphragm is cracked, and that's because I cracked it. So when I direct soldered the wires to the diaphragm, then I think, what was it? Maybe I think it might have been the solder iron, and that was I'm not sure, or was it the screwdriver? I forgot. This was many years ago. But anyway, that tool in my hand, the strong magnet of the motor caught it, and I just poked the diaphragm, so it's damaged. But even with that damage, it plays completely unnoticeable. Only times I notice it is when I play it extremely loud, and then I can hear some whizzing and crackling in the sound, but it exclusively appears when there's like subsonic energy in the sound, and I play it like ridiculously loud. And even though I have a second order crossover for the low pass for the driver, but if it's like very high energy at the low frequencies, it's going to make a big enough cone excursion to emphasize any kind of damage that the driver have. Especially if you are crossing it over like at really high frequencies, even if there's a little damage in the driver, it will show up only if you just play it at really high levels at like a concert hall or venue like that. But if you are using it at home and you don't play louder than 120 dB, then I think probably, even if it's slightly damaged, if you can't hear it, if it does not affect the normal playing, then I wouldn't worry about and use the old diaphragm for as long as it sings. So that's it. I think this is this video for now. I hope this advice was useful, and thank you for your wonderful question. Have a great day. Bye bye.